With the demise of the Nephite civilization, the interpreters and the plates lay hidden up to the Lord under the care of Moroni, the last Nephite caretaker. According to the familiar history, Moroni gave the gold plates to Joseph Smith along with the Urim and Thummim. Joseph used the Urim and Thummim along with a seer stone of his own to translate the record from which came the Book of Mormon. When he had finished, Joseph returned the plates and the Urim and Thummim to Moroni. This effectively ends the chain of custody of the Urim and Thummim as described in the scriptural record. We know that the three witnesses were shown the Urim and Thummim, but Moroni retained possession. Though the process of documenting a chain of custody such as this can be tedious, it is important to establish the facts with as much certainty as possible. Based upon the chain of custody for the Urim and Thummim reconstructed from the scriptural record, we can make several key determinations. First, the chain of custody does not indicate that there were more than one Urim and Thummim extant on earth at a time. The history of the biblical Urim and Thummim ends before the history of the Book of Mormon begins. Second, the Urim and Thummim of the Book of Mormon, according to King Messiah's testimony, is the same Urim and Thummim that was created in the beginning and handed down through the generations of the patriarchs. Third, the Urim and Thummim, with rare and necessary exceptions, was handed down from generation to generation along lines of lineage. The patriarchs handed the stones down from father to son. The Urim and Thummim of Aaron was passed from high priest to high priest within the tribe of Levi. The Urim and Thummim of the Book of Mormon was passed from king to king or from chief judge to chief judge, with rare exception from father to son. Fourth, there are breaks in the human chain of custody. It appears that, in extraordinary situations, the Lord takes back the Urim and Thummim as a means of safekeeping, returning them to another caretaker who can guarantee their safety. Fifth, while the chain of custody strongly supports a claim that the Urim and Thummim of the Book of Mormon and of Aaron are the same, it does not prove the claim. We can draw a secondary conclusion from takeaway number 4. When the Lord takes the Urim and Thummim back into his personal care, he must keep it somewhere. We know that in normal circumstances, the Lord commands men to build treasuries to house the sacred things, such as the Urim and Thummim. It only makes sense then, given the pattern, that the Lord would have his own treasury to house the sacred things when there was no human treasury on earth. Furthermore, the Lord would have a treasurer. Every human treasury had a treasurer appointed to keep it. Of course, we would not expect this treasurer to be a mortal being. The treasurer would need to be an angel, whether a resurrected or translated being. Joseph Smith's history supports these conclusions. The plates and sacred objects, such as the Urim and Thummim, the breastplate, the sword of Laban, and the Liahona, were under the care of the angel Moroni. The repository in which these objects were kept, said by some to be the size of a large room, constituted a sacred treasury. When Joseph Smith received the plates and Urim and Thummim, he also received a breastplate. The breastplate is not described except that the 2 stones and silver bows could be fastened to it, and this constituted the Urim and Thummim. The stones and breastplate formed a set and were intended to work together. The breastplate was just as sacred as the gold plates and the two stones, being included in the commandment to Joseph to protect them with his life. The curious thing about the breastplate is that it seemingly appears out of nowhere. We know where the plates and two stones came from, as their history is recorded in the Book of Mormon. However, the Book of Mormon does not mention the breastplate at all, nor does Joseph's history. The breastplate simply shows up in Moroni's possession with the Urim and Thummim. This is odd, since the compilers of the Book of Mormon went to great lengths to document the chain of custody for the plates and the sacred things, which included the Urim and Thummim. The obvious questions arise. Where did the breastplate come from? Who made it? How did Moroni come to have it? A deeper question must also be asked. Given the breastplate's connection to the two stones, which are more than likely the Urim and Thummim of Aaron, is it possible that the breastplate was his as well?